You said a word 3 times when you were talking about getting ahead. I got this little thing here. Listen to this. Life is a gamble. A mother cabbage told her offspring Brussels sprout. You have to weather storms and drought. You have to fend off animals, bugs, mold, and rot. But if you hang in there, you'll grow. I'll try, said the little sprout. But how long does this take? When should I stop growing? As with any other gamble, said Mother Cabbage, quit when you're ahead. so Dave, I'll move on from there. Let that sink in. Quit when you're ahead. It's a cabbage and a Brussels sprout. Yeah, but it's the work ethic. I think that's what we're really talking about here is hand in hand to bring the theme back. Character, integrity, doing what you say you're going to do. Those are the underpinnings of a solid work ethic. And your example of what you said to do to volunteer yourself, I'm going to give you an example of part of my work ethic where I got trained as a kid. And then I'd like you to share one of your experiences in life because I know many, I've heard many, but just pick one. So I worked at Harrison Spear when I was 16 years old. I drove the towboat. I got $50 a week, and it was about an 80-hour-a-week job. You go in at like 4 a.m, get off at 8 at night. You sleep on the beach under boats. I mean, it was a great job though, because it was like a boys' home. They worked us to death. It was like reform school, and but we worked hard. But one day I saw the owner, Jimmy Harrison. There were 2 bathrooms. They called them heads at the fishing pier, male and female, and he had a scrub brush, a toilet bowl cleaner, and some Clorox or something. And he was walking over toward the bathroom. And I said, Jimmy, what are you doing? He goes, I'm getting ready to go clean the bathrooms. And I said, you're the owner, man. Why are you doing that? Why don't you tell one of us to do it? He said, I would never tell anybody to go clean the toilets. And I said, hey, I need the money. I'm only making $50 a week. If you'll pay me, I would love to do it. I mean, I'll do it if you tell me, but if you won't tell me, will you do it? Will you let me do it if I let you pay me? And he goes, okay. So I took on a job and he gave me $2 a day, $14 more a week. And I was only making 50. So that was an incredible percentage increase. I mean, that was over 25% of my pay, just like that. And, but here's the stipulation, and I'm in a weird mood today just because I feel relaxed with you. So there was 2 heads. He says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 50 cents for each time you clean one, and you need to clean them twice a day each, in the morning and at night, and any time in between where there's an accident, you just have to do that. And I had to clean them a lot. I had to take a 50-foot snake out to the street at least twice a week, and we didn't use gloves back then. You washed your hands real good and everything, But the point is, I had to put that 50-foot snake down there to clean up the clog. But here's the deal. He said, I'll give you $2 a day and all you can eat. That was terrible. I don't know if people are going to appreciate that, but the point was that I had a good work ethic, and it stuck with me for the rest of my life, and I've always taken those jobs. And how about you, Dave? How about one of your stories?
Yeah. So we spent our summers at a very small cottage on the water. We grew up in Vermont, and we had a cottage. And by cottage, I mean probably no electricity, no phones, outhouses. Literally a tiny little cottage. And we would go there all summer, starting in the late 60s until I graduated through college. And at about 10 years old, when I was 10, and my oldest brother was 13, my mother noticed that there was these young people in boats, dories, wooden dories, and they had rakes, and they were raking this seaweed, and they were going. So she went and asked them, well, what are you doing? And they said, well, we rake the seaweed and we sell it. We take it down here and we sell it to this guy, and he pays us, 2.5 cents a pound. And my mother said, well, can anybody do that? And they said, yeah, anybody can do that. And so my mother found a way for us to get a summer job at 10 years old. And we then each got our own little boats and our rakes and our engines. And that job I had for the next 11 years, all the way through college, was we all had our boats, and we would go out at 2 hours before low tide and 2 hours after, because that's when this certain type of seaweed you get to. But a lot of those tides were at 5 a.m. So we'd be up at 4, and you're getting your boat, and it's cold, and you're walking out in the water so you can get into the boat, and it was physical. It was 4 hours of raking the seaweed, and then we'd drive it up, and it And I can tell you, there were many times I did not want to get up and go to do that. I would like to say I jumped out of bed especially when I got older, as a 19 or 20 years old, after I'd probably been out way too late the night before, but had to get up, and because that's how we made money. And the more you raked and the more pounds you got, the more you made. And back then, at the top of the price when I was there, it was like 5 cents a pound, and you could rake 2,000 pounds of seaweed. So that's $100 you go in a day, which was huge money. It was like way more than I could ever make working in a restaurant, and we didn't do it all the time. But I guess the point was, it was hard work, but in that case, that habit was greatly mentored on me by my mother and my brothers. And we were also competitive and who could rake the most, and so we competed. Every day, whoever won was called Mr. Moss, and so I competed daily against my brothers, who could rake the most seaweed and make the most money. But the point is, that habit was hard work. It was physical. I'd like to say I naturally came upon it. The answer is no. I had to have help in that case, brothers and parents pushing me out the door at times. But that was a great part of teaching me that I can work probably as hard as most people and endure cold and physical stuff. So that and I try to, and I take confidence in that it is that. So I'll take one, how does a habit of hard work get, built? It's usually self-interest. That's what it is. But self-interest in odd ways. So my self-interest as a 17-year-old of doing that hard work was I didn't get yelled at by my mother and not shamed by my brothers. That was my self-interest. But it worked. It got me out. But self-interest plays out in other ways. Self-interest of doing the job that no one else will do at 6 o'clock on Super Bowl Sunday. The self-interest is, this is good. This is helping somebody else. It's helping me. Sometimes self-interest is just ego. It's the right thing to do, and it makes me feel good. You go, that's self-interest. You got to find the self-interest that helps you do the right thing. Steve, you've said this to me a bunch of times. You go into prison, and it's the right thing to do, and you're doing, the Lord's mission as you see it. And here's the beautiful thing. You get more out of it than you give. These people love you. They give you so much feedback. So in some odd way, it's the most selfish thing you can do because it's in your self-interest and it's doing the right thing. So where there's perfect alignment is where the right thing, not just the right thinking foundation, where the right thing to do to help others aligns with your self-interest because it makes you feel good. You're gaining. So you have to find those intersections where it's in your self-interest. Because if you don't find those self-interests, you're just not going to keep it up. You're not going to do it. And so you got to kind of understand yourself. What makes, and you and I have talked about this before. I exercise because I know it's intellectually the right thing to do. And about 10 minutes into my exercise, I feel great. It makes me feel good. So I have to play this game with myself every time. I've learned that game about myself. So again, understanding yourself, figure out how you can build habits because it's in your self-interest. Find people that will help you, brothers who will guilt you into it, mothers that'll throw you out the door in good ways. But it doesn't matter. As long as it's creating the habit that allows you to go forward and be a better and better person, a more productive person, find those tactics.
Dave, that was absolutely beautiful. We're going to kind of bring it to an end now. I just want to say just one thing in what you were just talking about. The greatest satisfaction that I do get is when I see other people succeed. And I've got a gentleman, his name's Robert Miller, and I've read many of his letters. He was in prison in Oregon, in Baker City, Oregon, Powder River Correctional. And I started mentoring him a couple of years ago. He was in I've been out there 5 or 6 times, and he just kept coming in my classes, and I got to know him. He started corresponding with me, and he taught me a lot. I didn't know that education is the number one deterrent to recidivism. It keeps people out of prison more than anything else. And he gave me some statistics. 94% less recidivism if somebody gets into college while they're in prison, like a correspondence course.
Wow.
And so I've told this story many times, but my father had just died, and I got a $2,000 World War II insurance policy that was a veterans thing. And so what am I going to do with $2,000? I'll give all my kids a couple $100 or whatever, pay a bill or two. Nah, I gave him a semester of college to get him started, because he said, Steve, I know you can't afford it. I know your story, but I just want to know, would you help me raise money? Well, I just gave him the money because I didn't want him to wait. And last Wednesday, I got a phone call, and I've been in constant touch with him, lots of letters, probably 50 letters over the last 3 years or so. He got out of prison, and he's on his way soon to Arizona, as soon as the travel things, the coronavirus restrictions are lifted. But he thanked me for all that I had done for him, and so on and so forth. And I said, hey, Robert, you did more for me than I've done for you. He goes, no, Steve. He goes, I said, I wish I could have done more. He said, Steve, you got me started. And so I just kind of want to end my side of today's conversation with that. There are so many good things that are out there waiting for people to do. And my advice to the world is, get out of yourself, go do for others, and you will be absolutely amazed at where you end up, in a beautiful place. You'll have a place where you land. And Dave, I just want to thank you one more time for always being there for me. I mean, it wasn't easy in the early stages, but you always made time for me. So is there anything you'd like to sum up in today's show? We're right at the very end of the time frame now.
No, I think you just said it perfectly. I would just reiterate the same things. Is you just got to get started. Take a lot of little steps. If you can, try to put people ahead of yourself, you feel better. People respond. So no, I think you said it great. So thanks. And I appreciate you, allowing me into your life and being a part of Right Thinking to the extent that I can be. So I take great pleasure in watching this thing grow.
Oh, hey, Dave, thank you for that. When I would listen to that last show that I said we could have done instead of doing another whole show, there was a quote in there. When I first met you, I said, well, Dave, the difference between you and me is you do $1 billion deals, because you just on the Weather Channel $2.3 billion deal, and I do $1 million deals. And so I think a week or two back, I said to you, David, it's a rough economy. You're doing $50,000 deals now, and I'm doing 50-cent deals. So everybody keep that in mind. Even if the deal's not as big as it used to be, just keep giving to others, and everything's going to be okay. Dave, I love you. God bless you. Thanks for being with me today.
Love you back. Thanks.
Thanks. Everybody have a wonderful week, and I hope that you got something out of listening to me and Dave. Have a good time together. God bless each one of you.
Thanks for listening to Right Thinking with Steve Copeland. I look forward to being with you again next week. And remember, don't quit, plan ahead, it will get better. God bless you and have a great week.